We have to talk about this. Harvey Weinstein's 2020 rape conviction was overturned by New York Appeals Court. This is what I was asking Lolo about in the car, where the reasoning that was argued by Harvey's defense team that the New York Court of Appeals listened to, agreed with, and as a result overturned his conviction is something that I, with my layman's understanding of how trials work and how cases are presented, thought that this is something that happens often, which is that witnesses are brought in testifying to the character, showcasing a pattern of behavior of the defendant as part of the case. So is this because Harvey abused and assaulted so many women, too many women, that now his conviction was overturned? I genuinely don't understand this. I need a lawyer to explain to me how that works. Let's listen to NBC News try and explain
Breaking news out of New York right now, where the state's Court of Appeals decided to...
Wait, Emily Baker covered it. Can you find it and link it to me?
Overturn the rape conviction of disgraced Hollywood movie producer Harvey Weinstein.
That's right. A jury convicted him of criminal sexual assault in the first degree and rape in the third degree. Now, you may remember this landmark case as one that sparked the hashtag #MeToo movement back in 2017. Weinstein is currently in his fourth year of a 23-year prison sentence. NBC News correspondent Chloe Malas is here to break all of this down.
Hi, Caroline. Hi, Caroline. I'm a lawyer. Justice isn't real. Hope that helps. Yeah, actually.
Well, this is interesting because the court voted 4-3 to overturn this conviction. Why?
Okay. Also, to clarify, Harvey Weinstein is not free. Oh, thank you, Ashley. Harvey is not free because he was convicted twice. He was tried in New York. He was convicted. He got, 23 years for that. And then he was tried in California. He was convicted and he got 16 years for that. So he's actually, he's been extradited, or he's being extradited from New York, where he has been serving his sentence there, because that was the first trial that occurred. And he's being extradited to California because he has a 16-year sentence in California, but his team has been appealing that as well on the same grounds. So I don't know what's going to happen there.
What do they say?
You know, I just want to read you what the court has said in their ruling. They write in part that the court compounded that, wait, let me start here. We conclude that the trial court erroneously admitted testimony of uncharged alleged prior sexual act against persons other than the complainants of the underlying crimes because of that testimony served no material non-propensity purpose. Listen, I sat inside that courtroom every single day during his New York criminal trial. And what they had were Mullineaux witnesses. They had individuals come forward, which is not uncommon in trials, and speak about allegations that are not directly connected to the crimes that the defendant is charged with, but it's in an effort for the prosecutors to show an alleged pattern of behavior. So what we saw during Harvey Weinstein's trial in 2020, in 2019, 2020, was that there were women who came forward with allegations, but they were not part of the crimes that he was being charged with.
Yeah, this is so worrisome for the potential precedent that it's going to set for how this is going to affect other cases involving rape, whether they are cases where a conviction was, a conviction happened, or future cases. Because the idea here is if you have other witnesses whose allegations of crimes that were committed against them are not a part of the trial. So this is what happened with Danny Masterson, I'm pretty sure. Danny Masterson, they only had, I believe that they brought charges on three of the either 2 or 3 of the either 4 or 5 women who had alleged that Danny Masterson had drugged and raped them. But the ones that didn't move forward as other charges were used, or as official charges, were used as witnesses testifying to this pattern of behavior with Danny. Because they were not documented and reported prior, the victims' statements were thrown out. I mean, this is really worrisome. Danny was in the news again for getting beat up real bad in prison. Really? I did not see that. Can someone explain, like I'm 5, why it was overturned? I didn't hear it. Okay, let me go back here, and then we're going to watch Emily Baker, who's really, really good at explaining this stuff in simplified terms, explain it. We conclude that the trial court erroneously admitted testimony of uncharged, alleged prior sexual acts against persons other than the complainants of the underlying crimes because that testimony served no material non-propensity purpose. AKA having witnesses, the prosecution calling witnesses, testifying to Harvey's behavior and showcasing this years-long pattern of behavior of the way that he abused and assaulted women. And because those witnesses were not official complainants, because their allegations were not part of the official charges that he was being tried for, therefore, it was an attack on his character rather than being about the evidence that was introduced during trial, evidence to the crimes that he had been charged with. Even though character witnesses are a normal part of criminal trials. Stanley Narrator, thank you for the tier 1. Maddie, thank you for the 13. Rec Nation, thank you for the prime. TCAT, thank you for the 2 months. And Hogan, thank you for the gifted.
I sat inside that courtroom every charged with, but it's in an effort for the prosecutors to show an alleged pattern of behavior. So what we saw during Harvey Weinstein's trial in 2020, in 2019, 2020.
What's up, Noko? I'm starting to get more into politics. Welcome, friend. Welcome in. Why did it take 4 years to decide this, though? I mean, look, legal stuff takes a long time. Harvey was... the allegations were made in 2017. In 2018, he was officially charged. 2020 was when he was convicted and started serving his sentence, I'm pretty sure. And then immediately after he was convicted, his legal team appealed. Shit just takes a while.
Was that there were women who came forward with allegations, but they were not part of the crimes that he was being charged with in New York. And so now you have the court overturning this conviction, saying that, what you're going to have to do is start over with an entirely new trial.
Is there going to be a new trial? Someone asked. It hasn't been confirmed. As of right now, conviction's been overturned. There's no news or date set for another trial. So who's to say? We do not know yet.
And that is what we're hearing today from attorneys that represented those women, from attorneys that represented the Mullineaux witnesses, saying that this is a step back for the Me Too movement, that now individuals and victims and alleged victims are re-traumatized today, and that they will see it through, that he stands trial once again. But again, he also has to go to California.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They're the ones that originally brought this case. What are they saying about this decision to overturn the conviction? And then Weinstein, he is in prison.
Yeah.
So he's serving a 23-year sentence here in New York. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office, they've slammed this decision, and they said that they will retry him. But again, like you just said, he was convicted in the state of California, and he has to now go serve that concurrent sentence of about 20 years. But could this mean that potentially that could be overturned? That's a long road ahead, and that's what his spokesperson told me today. There is a press conference in just a few hours.
Okay.
I will be there, and we'll be hearing from Harvey Weinstein's attorneys and what they plan to do next.
All right, we'll be watching. NBC News correspondent Chloe Malas. Chloe, thank you.
Holy shit. One thing that I can foresee this doing is discouraging victims from coming forward. Why? Okay. If I'm a victim of sexual assault and I'm being asked to relive my trauma, this is incredibly traumatizing to have to not just talk to cops, not just talk to lawyers, but present this in a court of law. And now I see that Harvey Weinstein's conviction was overturned because of witness statements that were not, that were not the official charges that he was being tried for. That is something where I could see victims of sexual assault not wanting to put themselves through that. If the whole thing is the crime that happened to me, there's not enough evidence or there's not a strong enough case, so prosecutors aren't going to try my abuser for the crimes they committed against me, but instead my allegations, the crimes that happened to me, are going to be used to testify to the character of the defendant, with this now possibility that, like, they could be found not guilty or have their conviction overturned. That's terrifying.
Good morning.
Here's Emily. We're going to skip to 2741.
The New York Court of Appeals overturned Harvey Weinstein's 2020 New York convictions. This is not an overturning of the Los Angeles convictions. He has been convicted both in New York and in Los Angeles in California. He was sentenced to 23 years in New York, 16 years in LA. Does this impact the sentence in LA? No, not at this point. Is that case already up on appeal? Yes, it is. So this, when we talk about other cases like Murdaugh, and people ask, well, if he's been sentenced, not law nerds, because law nerds know, but sometimes people ask, Murdaugh's been sentenced on, the murder case to 2 consecutive life sentences, and then 27 years on the financial crimes. And then the Fed sentenced him to another 50 whatever years, and on and on and on and on. Why do they keep sentencing when there are all these other convictions? This is why. This is why. This is why. Things get overturned on appeal. It happens. Does it happen all the time? No. Does it happen often? I would say no on that too. But it does happen. It's why you sentence on multiple cases if that's what's needed, not just the one that's before you, not just on the highest number of sentencing, not just on the first case. It's why you sentence case by case by case. So is Weinstein's convictions or sentence in California changed? No. Is that up on appeal? Again, yes, it is. So let's go through this opinion and hopefully answer some of your questions. I normally do Q&A at the end. I'm going to do Q&A on this before we move on to Baldwin, because I know you're going to have a lot of questions. But when we talk about trials needing to be done right, no matter who the defendant is, trials have to be done right, because having to retry them is a mess. Nanner said he's just moving prisons, correct? If he is being housed, I don't know if he's being housed in New York and California. If he's being housed in New York, they will move him to California.
I read that he has been housed in New York, so they're moving him to Cali.
If he's being housed in California,
He's coming
he will just
home
stay
here.
in California. I don't know where they were housing him. So if If he's in California, he stays. If he's in New York, he'll be transported. So, and they will probably, I imagine his defense attorney will make a motion to have him released on the New York, like formally released on the New York case. A formal release on the New York case means he will be bounced into California custody if he's not already there. So we're going to go directly to the court ruling, and then we might go to some media articles on it. We might not. Emily, you're not sharing your screen, girl. Let's do that. Hold on. And decision for, so that you have this, you have access to this opinion and decision for yourself if you wanted to go through it and read it.
Emily,
because I'm not going to read all 77 pages of it.
God, she's just like me.
The most pertinent points and then go through the rest of it. Let's see.
Yeah, this is her live stream.
Isn't
She
Karen
is
Reed's
just
lawyer
like
also
me.
Weinstein's? Yes. Alan Jackson defended Weinstein. I don't know if he defended Weinstein in the New York case. Hold on. I know he did in the Los Angeles case. But I don't remember.
I'm going to skip over here.
This is not a unanimous opinion. This is a split opinion. Not everyone on the Court of Appeals who sat and heard this case agrees. Every person accused of a crime, they say, is constitutionally presumed innocent and entitled to a fair trial and the opportunity to present a defense. And then they cite to the Constitution and case law interpreting the Constitution, saying the right to a fair trial is a fundamental liberty secured by the 14th Amendment.
Wait, Alan Jackson, the
although
country
not articulated
singer?
in the Constitution, is a basic concept of a fair trial under our system of criminal justice. Whether rooted directly in due process, in the due process clause of the 14th Amendment, or in the compulsory process or confrontation clauses of the 6th Amendment, the Constitution guarantees criminal defendants a meaningful opportunity to present a complete defense. This is quoting Trombetta. For everyone who's been to law school, Trombetta has entered the chat immediately. Under our system of justice, the accused has a right to be held to account only for the crime charged, and thus allegations
There's
of
a
prior bad
timestamp
acts
marked summary.
may not
Okay,
be
wait.
admitted against them
Right
for
here.
the
Okay,
sole
I'm going to skip to that. Thank
overturned
you.
Harvey Weinstein's convictions in New York based on the propensity evidence that was admitted
Yeah,
at
her reading the legal stuff is the stuff that I can't.
trial. The propensity evidence being non-victim testimony about prior bad acts in the case. The majority opinion found that the evidence did not have a proper purpose. There was no reason that that evidence was admitted other than to show that because he had done something before, he had a propensity to do it again, which is in violation of not just the case law in New York, but a violation of the rules of evidence and they say the long history of the case law in New York. Remember, different jurisdictions have different rules to deal with particularly propensity evidence in sexual assault cases. Jurisdictions vary widely on that. And if the legislature is like, hey, what is California doing with propensity evidence here? They can shift that. So in New York, the district attorney will have to choose whether or not they will retry this case, which means if they do, the victims will have to testify again at a retrial.
Oh, man.
His conviction in California is up on appeal. Remember, the conviction in California was a split conviction. Some of the counts in California were hung. Some of the counts in California were convicted on the retrial. So the first time he was not acquitted. The first time in California, it was hung on all counts. The second trial in California was convicted on some of the counts, hung on some of the counts. The counts that were hung in California, the DA's office in Los Angeles chose not to retry. So those 3 counts were just declared a mistrial and dismissed. So of the 4 counts that he was convicted of in California, he was sentenced to 16 years. I have not seen whether that sentence was changed or enhanced due to the prior convictions in New York. If that is the case, then we will likely see a motion in Los Angeles to resentence him because there is now no prior conviction in New York to base the sentencing in LA on. But he is sentenced to 16 years in LA. And so he will be sent from New York to LA to serve his time there. So that appeal in Los Angeles is still pending. And when that comes down, we will see what happens. One of the victims in the LA case who the jury hung on, which means they couldn't decide whether to convict or acquit on that count, was one of the propensity witnesses in New York. So what happens if they retry it in New York? Well, they don't bring in the propensity evidence, or they make a stronger case as to why the propensity evidence comes in. I would imagine that if they could make a stronger case for why it should come in, they would have done that, knowing that this is one of those things like jury instructions where bad acts evidence can get your case overturned. Too much bad acts, too far in the past. That overreaching is one of those things that can get cases overturned, and that's what we have seen here. Again, the rules in California for propensity in sexual assault prosecution.
Okay, I think we kind of have a gist of why this happened.